All right, this has been a long time coming, like a long time coming here. And Maija, so
It
good to have
has.
you on. So good to have you on podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know what I'm struck by? Like back there in your background, it says, "You are beautiful." That's what it says. I love,
Talking about you.
yeah, I love that. I love that. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, why is that important to you? Like having that up there?
Sure. So this is my most recent product until next week. It's called You Are Beautiful, and it's a prompt journal to help people build confidence and self-worth in themselves. So it's 30-day prompt journal, all about reversing that way too often stigma that people have when they're super hard on themselves, when they're down on themselves, when they're giving everybody else around them grace and love, but then that internal monologue is just grinding you down into the ground. And the whole idea around my business, which is called Appreciate You, is reversing that narrative. So instead of being as hard as we are on ourselves, which is so common, um, it's about asking the question, what happens when we love ourselves? What happens when we give ourselves praise? What happens when we give ourselves kindness, grace, and we're gentle with ourselves to make mistakes, to take risks? What kind of person are we? What kind of risks do we take? What kind of people do we attract into our lives? So, You Are Beautiful, this prompt journal, it's all about those questions, and it's about turning that narrative in on yourself, thinking differently, making a habit over a 30-day period, and then seeing what transforms in your life. It's really important. I think it's work that's going to change the world. Everybody that's doing work like this, yourself, myself, so many others included.
Why do you think people struggle to receive praise, either from other people or do it to themselves, give themselves their own praise?
I think that it's a learned behavior. When we're babies, we are so happy, right? We're encouraged by our parents. I always think about a parent teaching their child to walk. They fall down inevitably and they're like, it's okay, you did great. And, this constant praise. And then we get older and we go to school and we're taught from a very young age to please people, to get the right grades, to make the right decisions, to behave in a certain way. And then we grow up older, and our social groups are the same kind of way, and our magazines are the same way, our social media. Then we get into a job, and again, they tell us how to be. So if we don't fit into that very specific mold, inevitably we're going to start taking it out on ourselves. And that's not helpful for anybody.
Why do you think society tries to paint that or put people in that box or kind of pull you away from the, hey, yay, you're walking to, hey, this is a difficult life. Life's tough, and why?
That is such a big question you're asking, right? I mean, it could be from anything that we're just ignorant to it, or it could be as far as ego, it's like um I any sort of individual is like, I want you to make me happy. If you're not behaving in this way, or this way, then I'm not happy, and you need to make me happy. So it could be as far as a whole ego projection onto the world. But now that we're becoming more savvy to it, now that I think as a society have risen our consciousness enough to be aware of that, it's time for a change. We understand that bullying is now a huge problem. It's detrimental to people throughout their entire lives. We're now finally talking about therapy and how amazing it is and groundbreaking it is. So I think that we're on the precipice of a huge change in the world. But the reason why could be accounted to a lot of different things. I don't think there's one specific reason at all.
I agree with you. I think there's a shift in consciousness about things that were previously acceptable that are not acceptable now. And I know I asked why, but on another tangent, what may be somewhat of a turning point what that consciousness has started to raise in that? Do you have ideas of why this has started to become more important, especially in the last, let's say, 10 years or so,
I mean, there are theories. I don't know if, how much I buy into the theories, but one of the theories the stars and the alignment. It's like we were in the age of Pisces and we're coming into the age of Aquarius, and it's supposed to shift. So like the whole Mayan calendar ending in
Okay.
2012 was supposed to be the ending of something. Was it the ending of a consciousness? And then this is the natural evolution of the world. Also, this might just be the natural evolution of the world. We may have been going through, in the 90s, the AIDS epidemic and everything that was going on there, and being like, oh, whoa, 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 we don't want to hate people that much. And then we kind of start turning that thought process back on ourselves. There's, again, what a great question. And there's tons of theories to it, but it's great that you and I both see that. I think there's a large population that still doesn't even see that, but what really spurs people into this kind of lifestyle, at least this way of thinking, of being kinder to yourself and more spiritually minded. Frequently, it's traumas. Going through
Mm.
a depression yourself usually kind of awakens people. And the fact that we can even talk about that, I think other people can relate to as well. And we're like, oh, right, that sounds like something that I went through as well. And how did you get through it? Oh, maybe I could try that as well.
I mean, is there an argument for maybe there has been a universal trauma among humans in the past 10 years that has caused an acceleration?
Ooh, like what?
I don't know. I just have questions like I'm thinking and asking at the same time. Is it what's special about this time, or what's different about this time that maybe many people, I mean, if you're really awake to it, you see it. There's a different level of thought process that people are experiencing, a level of different spirituality, of questioning, of ideas, of forward progress. If there's a trauma base, what's that trauma? Is there a universal trauma? Is it
Are you from? Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
for it, please, please.
Are you familiar with Eckhart Tolle's teachings
I am.
at all?
I am.
You know how he talks about the pain body, and there's a
Mhm.
global pain body of the traumas that we've experienced, and
Yeah.
how that does affect you. Oh, that spoke to me so much. And so it's this worldwide trauma that we've gone through. So through all of the horrific events, we carry that. That is energy that still resides on a cellular level in every single one of us. And for whatever reason, at this time, we're able to finally acknowledge it, experience it, hopefully feel those feelings fully, and then they will pass and we feel much more at peace. It's this internal angst within us, and we're finally acknowledging it for whatever reason.
I have an idea.
Anyway.
This is a discussion. It's all a discussion. I have an idea. Maybe it's the universal trauma and the universal acceleration of progress of the internet, potentially. Of this, because you have to think a lot of society in the past operated in silos, just because you couldn't get there. We're talking about very far back, or there wasn't a communication method between countries and places. But the internet has been a game changer, and particularly in 1990 when Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web, for other humans to actually see how other humans are living on a regular basis. It's both traumatic to have this invention, but also very eye-opening and forward-moving at the same time.
And connecting. Yes, I think that's a fantastic thought process. Yes. I mean, before, yeah, you're super right. We didn't have as much connection with other people, with different races, with different religions, with different people of, different thought beliefs at all. And then all of a sudden we're put into this one big melting pot called the World Wide Web. And we're finally able to see a little bit more perspective. I love that.
Well, think about,
Thank
like,
goodness.
let's say like videos, right? Something sounds bad when someone tells you. Okay, so here's a good example: the Tyree Nichols murder or death by the police, very recent, right? If you say, "Hey, these cops murdered this person," that doesn't sound good, but it's way worse when you watch the video. It's way worse. The horrible nature of it becomes way worse when you see something. Like when I see you, you see me, something changes than if we just email each other. And I think that's the the invention of sharing video across the world, to me, feels like a very traumatic experience, both good and bad. And I think it raises the consciousness of people in certain things as well.
I like that. There's so many artists that have also experienced war, and that's really spurred them to create these different masterpieces that show the horrificness, and it kind of translated that feeling of trauma through it. And now during a time when we could only experience that through somebody's paintings, we're now experiencing that in our bedroom, in our living room. That's going to affect anybody. And I think the fact that this mentality has been around, the thought of, kindness and self-love has been around forever. They call it like new thought, but it's actually been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But and who knows if it's way more people than before that was getting behind it, or people just had to be hush hush about it before. But regardless, it's definitely, like you said, a new wave.
Well, it's interesting too, is like wellness has tried to take on this as well, in a sense of like self-care, love yourself, take care of yourself, invest in yourself. But that, like many other fields, has its people who try to capitalize off that and deceive people too. So it's interesting. It's like sometimes this can become self-indulgent. It's like, okay, I'm going to start to love myself, but then there can be this point where it's like someone starts loving themselves and they become narcissistic about it, type of thing. It can become
Yeah.
weird. It can be weird. Like some people take it to another weird level with it. And it's like, no, no, that's not what we meant. Like,
You're a fitness person, right? You're
yeah.
a personal trainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've seen that personally with people that have just been like, I don't know,
Yeah, I think
like love themselves, but in a toxic way.
yeah, well, kind of like it's like you start working on yourself, right? It's a great journey. I'm a huge proponent of working on yourself, loving yourself, caring for yourself. But sometimes that self care turns into self indulgence if you're not careful. And
Mm,
then and that
interesting.
line is interesting. I can't say that I know where it happens, but sometimes that can you can cross over into a point where you start believing like, well, yeah, I take care of myself, and then like, well, I'm like literally the best person. Like I'm the
Mm.
best. Look at all the stuff I've done to make myself feel well. You know, I'm like,
I feel like that's a pseudo,
mm,
that's a mask though. Like
yeah,
that's your ego being like, no, I swear I'm great, you guys. Like everyone see how good I
yeah.
am. I swear I'm great.
Yeah. I'm
It's a
drinking
like
this juice. I'm having this skin
nervousness.
cream,
Yeah, it's
like,
like I'm supposed to do this and I'm working out and I
yeah.
think I'm looking better, so I'm really hot now, right? Promise. Yeah, yeah, I need your validation. Am I? It's I feel like that is a very different level that we're like we're trying to hit on though, because the self-love, that is connection to something bigger than what we are. I think that when we turn that love, and I mean love, not praise, and not just your ego needing fulfillment and validation from others. But when we start with love, true love, you're connecting to something that is a universal force. And I think anybody that is actively connecting to that level, whether that's through meditation or through affirmations, or through kindness, I think that whenever somebody starts acting through that level of love, especially for themselves, oof, that is powerful. And that's not recognition. That is just something that goes deep within and it projects outwards. And everybody around you can feel it anyway, and they'll notice it, and it will be a glow from within. It is beautiful. And I think that that has the ability to change the world.
No, I agree. I think that some people, it's how they enter it. So like what you're talking about, okay, how are they entering into that? Into some, there are people who are selling what you're selling, but it's not what you're doing. They're saying, yes, this is this love, this, but by the way, you need to buy this, you need to buy that, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's the line to me. It's like, okay, this, we don't need, like, beautiful things don't need recognition. I truly believe that you don't, you feel it. But then the commercialized version of you are beautiful says, have this skin cream, do this thing, drink this juice, take this. I think people are seduced by that, the thing versus
Yeah.
the feeling.
It's the external. It's like,
Yes.
give me something to make myself whole, when
Yes.
really, in actuality, that beauty, that wholeness can only be found from within. Otherwise, you're always chasing the next external thing and you're never feeling that within you. You Are Beautiful was actually brought about because my good friend, she was a new mother at the time, about a year ago. She still is a new mother, excuse me. And she told me that she doesn't feel beautiful anymore. She's like, I look at myself, I look old and I'm tired. And whew, I was heartbroken by hearing this. I was like, what are you? No, any good friend of yours, puts himself down. You're like, you stop that right now. So she was like, I need a new skincare routine. Like, tell me something to do. I'm like, no, that's nothing of the sort. It's like anything that needs to change is just your paradigm. You just need a perspective shift. And I literally got off the phone with her and I was writing this book for 18 hours straight. Like, I was a woman possessed, and I wrote this book for her to help switch up her mentality. And then I released it on Amazon. I sent her the first copy. And yeah, it's all about knowing who you are on the inside.
What is love?
These questions, man. Love could be a lot of things. I mean, in the English language, we overuse that word so much, don't we? So much. But what comes down to it, I think, is love is, I'm not a religious person. I want to put that out here. Not religious at all, but quite spiritual, quite, I think, aware of others' energies around me. And I think that love and God is synonymous. I think it is our driving force. I think that it is everything that's invisible and tangible. I think it's what makes up the world. And I think that's the reason why so many people can get behind the concept of love. People know it from when you're an infant, because love is what makes us up. And it's not, I feel like the word cutting ourselves off is too strong of a word, but when we I don't know, choke ourselves off from that love that already exists, that's when we think we need that external validation, that juicing cleanse, or that, hairstyle or whatever, that's when we are looking for external to bring to ourselves so that we can love, or that person. We think that, oh, if I only had that partner, then I would know love. Then I would have love in my life. I need them to make me love myself. No, you are love. Your DNA, your everything, your energy, you are made up of love. And you have just weaned yourself off from it, but it is available to you at any time, anywhere. And Appreciate You is all about rediscovering that within. So it's only going to point you, it's not going to give you anything. It can only point you to what you already know inside of you. My hope is to always point people in the direction which is right back to you.
What's interesting, I wonder what you think about what I'm going to say here. This podcast is very different than probably any you've been on. There's different questions coming through this one here.
You have wonderful questions.
Thank
I
you.
love your questions so
Thank you.
far.
Okay, so you may have seen I interview a ton of people, tons of people. And when we get into the spiritual conversation, we talk about love. You are like the millionth person to say this. I'm not a religious person. I just want to make, I've heard that. Why the delineation?
Why cut yourself off from being associated with a religion, you mean?
No, just like making the statement, like I want like a disclaimer. I'm not religious when I'm talking about love here. I just want you in loving. I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Sure. No, it's a great question. I mean, I have a lot of personal reasons for not necessarily wanting to be associated with the religion.
Sure.
But also God has, especially when speaking the word God, comes with so much baggage. So much baggage. I mean, think of all the people that have been, gone to war over the concept of God.
Sure.
It is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. The idea of religion often means us versus them. And that's something that I really don't want to be a part of at all.
Yeah.
In my own experience with religion, it ends up being a method to control people and to point people on a specific path, like do this X, Y, and Z, and then you will receive God's love and you can be accepted. And again, it's too much exclusivity for me.
Yeah. That's a construct of people. People do that.
Definitely.
That's a
I
people thing.
completely agree.
That's not a
Yeah,
God thing. That's a people thing. Like most things
exactly.
that are
But
like that
it
are
comes
people
back.
things. And then they pull it through a portal of God. That has nothing to do with that. I feel like that is a people created thing. People usually mistake a lot of tenets of things through their own lens, not the actual spiritual lens of it, which is kind of ironic. It was like it's
Which
weird, you
is
know.
amazing that we're seeing record numbers of people leaving churches now. And I think because of that reason, because of going back to the very beginning of our conversation, we there's this change of energy
Sure.
happening here.
Yeah. And I'm speaking about this as someone who's had incredibly positive experience with religion my entire life. But I
That's
also
wonderful.
question
Huge
it.
congrats.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm part of probably a
That's
small group of
big.
people that I've seen. But
I think that's beautiful. If it
yeah, no,
makes
it is
you
beautiful.
love more, if it makes you a better
Yeah.
person, yes, it did what it's supposed to do.
But
That's wonderful.
and this is the thing. A lot of what you're talking about with you're beautiful, appreciate you, these are the tenets of quote unquote religion. The problem is people have ruined that. People have created weird ideologies around that had nothing to do with the original concept of, loving God and love others. It's pretty simple, but it's like a game of telephone. You told one person and then the 25th person completely hacked it up. People have hacked
Mhm.
it up. And so people have a bad taste. And that's why things are changing. But I think people inherently want to have that feeling. They want to have love. They want to have connection. They want to have appreciation. People mess that up all the time and
I completely
crazy
agree.
make weird narratives. Like the weird narrative thing to fit things is so frustrating to me. It's like that's why I think people also try to hijack beauty too. They try to like make beauty seem like this weird thing. It's so weird. Like,
And oh my goodness, doesn't everybody have beauty in them? Like you can
right.
find literally anybody and find something just so beautiful or adorable about them. It's like, I love people.
Yeah. It's like
It's easy to love them when you look for what to love.
right. But then it's like you start crafting beauty into some weird, superficial, very thin thing. And of course,
Mhm.
you're going to get people jaded by it. And you've created a crazy definition of it than what it is.
And it's completely made up. And
It's
you're
just
right,
made up.
people ruined that too. It was industry
Yes.
and money being made, and yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
made a
I,
few people rich, I guess.
right. And that I think, and this is a conversation is appreciating other people are beautiful and the monetary element of it. The people struggle with that push and pull between capitalism and like
Yeah,
integrity and
totally.
in making decisions that are more from the inside,
Mhm.
that are more like this is better for me versus, well, I may be sacrificing a lot of my integrity just for this other thing.
Yeah. It is a weird industry for sure. And I've, just ventured into this industry a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's very interesting. I've known a handful of people now who have left it and, went to monasteries or somewhere else
Really?
completely remote. They're like, yeah, it doesn't feel right to like to capitalize on my coaching or something like that. And I'm like, this is fascinating. Like
Wow.
it's very interesting, man. I'm still figuring it out as I navigate, but it's cool.
What was
I
that
like it.
conversation like? That's really different. I mean, like they just didn't like that they were profiting off of it.
Exactly. So it was the money aspect that they were having issues with, which I understand. I do. Um, but yeah, it's in our society, I feel like that's so difficult. Also, if you give something away for free, it's often undervalued in our society. People don't think there's value with it. So it's very there's a weird juxtaposition happening. And do you have any answers for me? What do you think about that? Because I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm still figuring it out.
I think it's like we think that certain things have value. And so we assign this value that, oh, this is like worth a lot of money. And people think
Mhm.
this is good. But then, like, it's almost like appreciating yourself, investing in yourself, it's like, well, that should be free. Why does that cost something? Like,
And
you
it
know,
can. Everything
like,
that you want is free online somewhere.
right.
So how
So
do you want
why
to
is
do it?
one thing more
Like,
valuable than the other? So it's like, okay, this costs something because people have agreed that this is worthy of being a lot of money or this and that. But like,
mhm.
why isn't this? Like, I think it's fine. Like, and honestly, people don't go to free dances, man. They don't. Nobody wants that stuff. Like, I
That's
think,
true.
and I think here's the thing. I think if you want a bargain, you're gonna get a bargain, and it's gonna be a
Exactly.
bargain. It ain't gonna be that great. And you want something good, it's gonna cost you. It is. It's gonna cost you more, and that's okay.
I In our world of the internet though, with so much globalization, I think you can really find anything you want, like no matter what. You can find
Of
the
course.
up and comer coach, and for the record, I'm not a coach, so I'm not trying to book anything here, but you can find that person who's just really passionate, they know their stuff, and they're new, so they're going to be like razor thin margins and super inexpensive, a bargain. Or you can find those people that are charging 10, 20 grand
Mhm.
for their coaching practice, but they're attracting those clients that wouldn't probably trust a razor thin margin.
Yeah.
So even the consumer has control here.
Yeah. It's funny, like bettering yourself. We struggle with the cost of bettering yourself. We really struggle with that. On some level,
Yeah,
it's
do
weird.
you
Like,
see
even
that in your business?
for sure. Like for me, I
Yeah.
offer a very high dollar service. I've been in the business for 23 years, and I feel like, I have my doctorate. I've done a lot of work on myself, a lot of education. I feel it's worth it for that. And many people
Mhm.
feel the same way
Yeah.
about it. But then sometimes, I see people giving away like these training programs or literally for no money. And it's like, and or it's like a volume service. Let's get 100 clients. Let's just write up these programs and stuff. I want people to do what they feel like they want to do, but sometimes I think, well, is there a value in that or no? I don't know, but is it decreasing the value of the trainer or increasing it? I don't have lots of thoughts, but I think similar with you. There's certain things that they may say, okay, well, I can't I just look it up on YouTube how to like better myself? Like, I mean,
Totally.
yeah,
Do it.
but it's not very personal though. It's like, you know,
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think it has so much to do with the individual's relationship to money too.
mm,
The idea around money
mm,
varies so greatly between person to person, from consumer to consumer. So some people are, more price conscious or don't want to spend the money on this sort of thing, and that's cool because there are plenty of things. But if you want a tangible product that's going to walk you through, if you always wanted to journal but you don't really know where to start, it overwhelms you, you know that it's good for you but you don't know what to do, this is a perfect version that will walk you through it. But if you don't want that, then there's plenty of free YouTube bloggers that will give it to you for free. Good for you. What works for you? Everything exists in the world. Literally, everything exists.
everything
You have to
exists in the
choose what's
world.
best for you. That's
And
all.
and in a weird way, going back to this kind of like this universal trauma, the internet has in many ways created all of our businesses in this space in some way, or like accelerated these businesses. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, like when I was growing up in the 80s, you are beautiful. No, it'd be like, why this wacky? Like, what are you doing? Like,
Totally.
right?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah. I
right?
grew up in the 90s, but same thing.
Okay,
You'd
same
be a
thing,
weird
right?
man. And
Like,
like nobody meditated, not a
like,
soul.
why you're
If you
doing
did,
that?
you were like, that person.
Like you'd be called a tree hugger, or you're just like out there. Why don't you go out to the woods and talk to the trees or whatever? Like I find that very awesome to do. But like if you're in a
Same.
time like that time, you're going against a huge monsoon of negativity
Have you
towards that
have you watched an 80s or 90s movie recently?
all the time. I love the 80s. I love
They're
80s movies.
so mean.
I
Everyone is
know, I
so
know,
mean to
I
everyone. It's
know.
hilarious. They're like, this was our world, man. This was our world. What the heck? All right. I'm so glad we live now.
Right, it's the time you're in. It's the time
Totally.
you're
It
in,
was
right?
normal. I was there. I did loser. I was a
Of
part of it. I
course.
know.
Yeah.
Bad.
but there's a different vibration now. And I think there's still people who subscribe to an older mentality, like that they're having trouble moving on from the vulnerable nature of humans. Like humans are, I think, striving to be more vulnerable, which was seen as a weakness, but now as in society, it feels more and more like a strength, you know?
I completely agree. I've always found that your ability to feel is a superpower. It is literally, it makes up our life experience. If you have a painting that doesn't bring out any emotion whatsoever, it's it's just some paint on canvas. If it brings out emotion in you, if it makes you think and feel in a different way, it's a masterpiece. Our ability to feel, our ability to rationalize, our ability to experience makes us human. It makes us a masterpiece.
How has this work affected you? Like, and do you struggle with it sometimes in the sense of, you know, like, hey, yeah, you're beautiful, but do you have doubts yourself sometimes?
Oh, of course, I'm human after all. Absolutely. I got into this. I started my journey into self-improvement back when I was going through a really deep depression. So this was 10 years ago now. Um, but I was having just the worst thoughts. I wanted everything to end. You know, I don't think a lot of people get to where I'm at without going through a very deep depression with suicidal thoughts. Like it's very rare that I meet somebody that's in this business that hasn't experienced that before. So it's an awakening. And then on a day-to-day basis, I mean, yes, I definitely have my intense morning ritual of journaling, affirmations, visualizations, move here and there, not everything every day. Meditation, though, for sure, every day. But yeah, some days you just have bad days. Some days you're just down. Some days you just want to cry into your partner's arms. And again, that's that feeling everything is what makes your life complete. It's what makes your life whole. I like to ask, if you were given the opportunity to be a bird for 5 minutes, would you take it?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
5 minutes, and you
It's
gotta
just five
fly. You gotta
minutes.
figure out what it's like to
Yeah.
take her. Exactly. It's a blip. It's
Yeah.
nothing, and you get this amazing experience. I believe that when we came to be our physical selves, we got that same offer. Look, you can come to Earth. You can be a human for a blip of a time, and you'll experience it all. You'll have friendships and relationships. You'll lose friendships. You'll lose relationships. You'll have different jobs. You'll do different things. You'll have your heart broken. You will feel blissfully soaring. Would you take the opportunity? Of course you would. You're here right now. So would I. So we came here not just to feel great, not to just feel love and bliss, but to feel that heartbreak, to feel that vulnerability, which is something so common, especially, releasing your own products. It's makes me very uncomfortable.
Sure. Other
But
people are seeing it, they're reading it, they're listening to it. They
they're
have
commenting on
they're
it, they're reviewing.
commenting. They have their own thoughts about it that may not be lined up with yours. Like,
Yeah, but it would be harder not to do it because it's my calling. So it's yeah, I definitely struggle with it. How about you with being a bodybuilder or like not, are you a bodybuilder?
I'm not a bodybuilder. No.
Sorry. Being a personal trainer, do you ever look at your body and like, oh, meh? Or are
No.
you always like, yeah.
No. No, I never had that relationship with my body, but I also understand that many people do have that.
Mm.
It's kind of a thing for me, is kind of like all these things are possibilities. I look at it this way. It's kind of like someone said this once. I forgot what show I was looking at. It's like you could go out in the ocean and have this great experience in the ocean and think, I love the ocean. Nothing bad happens in the ocean. That's not true. Like some people have bad experiences in the ocean, no matter how great yours was, So while I have never had that thought about my body, those thoughts, I know other people have for that.
Mm.
And so I'm very cognizant of that. I think my main struggle is sometimes, actually, it's funny we're talking about this actually, because I was just texting my wife about this last night, and she'd never heard me say this before. But I said, sometimes I feel like my experience as a trainer has been so overwhelmingly positive, it feels strange to me. Like it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable on some level. I know that sounds kind of weird, but like I've had these amazing clients I've had for over for a decade plus, all these wonderful relationships. I mean, I'm having probably a better training career than uh, is the industry average. I mean, I've been in it 23 years. The average trainer's lifespan is less than 6 months. I mean, it's incredible. It's like, man, I can't believe this is happening to me, kind of thing. Sometimes I struggle with that, you know.
What brought you into this career?
I just like talking to people. I never looked at
And you just
fitness. Yeah, I never looked at fitness. Like I'm not a fitness person per se. Like I look like a fitness person. Like you saw me like, wow, that's a very fit person. It looks very athletic, the movement and stuff, but I never considered myself a fitness person. I use fitness as a platform to create relationships with other people. That's it. Like it's
That's fascinating. That's
yeah,
very unique in
yeah, I don't
itself.
know. I don't see my like if I watch a video and somebody's like, that's why the internet confuses me. It's somewhat of a traumatic thing for me because when I see people like, I'm a gym bro, I'm a gym girl, and they like define themselves by all this stuff they do in the gym.
Personality
I
trait
don't get
now.
that. Like I don't get that. I'm like, I don't even want to be there. Like I want to go there for like I want to work really hard and I want to get out there. I just don't want to be there. Like I want to do other things. I'd rather play my guitar, talk to people like yourself, do different things out here, make music. Like my life cannot be about fitness. It just can't be. It's like,
That's
so it's
fair.
strange that that's my profession and that because I don't feel like that's what I'm doing. I feel like it's just a platform to like make relationships with other people, like kind of
I
thing.
love that.
So it's
Oh, I,
weird.
I love that you get to do that then. I mean, we all
Yeah.
deserve to live something, no matter how unconventional it is, or,
Yeah.
the reasons why we got into it being, out of the norm. I think that's really, really great that
Yeah.
you found your niche.
Yeah. Well, it's also great. Like you come on and you ask the host questions, which is not normal, by the way.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't like
Oh, that's
I don't like
great.
having one-sided conversations. So
Me
I
neither.
want to hear about you.
Me neither.
Okay.
I love that you ask questions because that's a conversation. Somebody asks a
But you
question.
do ask really good questions, so it's
Thank
hard.
you.
It's yeah.
I tend to put people like on, okay, I don't want to like this. I tend to really make people think about stuff.
I like
Like,
that. I like that a
hey,
lot.
I'm put you on your heels a little bit, not in a bad way, in a very thoughtful
No.
way. Like I'm pushing back versus like I was just thinking about this. I don't like going on shows and like trying to get like, let me tell you why I'm pushing back on this. Like, don't you know that there's enough people doing that. That's not my
Yeah.
lane. I'm more like, did you think about this or what was the idea about this? Like
Mhm.
not confrontation, but a co-curiosity in the thought
I
process.
You know what I've been wondering for like the last four questions? Are you a law of attraction person?
No,
Familiar with the concepts or practice
I
it?
am
Nothing?
familiar with it, but I wouldn't consider
Okay.
myself that person. No.
Oh, okay. I get like a strong law of attraction kind of the way that you ask questions specifically, and also how you talked about your career and like how it's blossomed
Yeah.
and it really came from wanting to have conversation with people, It's
Yeah.
very interesting how
It's
that's come to
different.
fruition for you. It's
Yeah,
different.
it's just
I like it.
different.
Very
It's just
different.
it's hard. I mean, it's not hard, but it's more of just like it's curious. I'm curious about my own existence, doing what I'm doing.
Love it.
And that in itself is
Yeah.
strange to me, you know. But also I think like when I was struck by the "You Are Beautiful," like that thing is
Mhm.
staring at me. It's like literally staring at me.
Usually it's on a pedestal. I didn't have time to put it on there yet.
But it's like it's
A
grabbing
cake
me,
stand.
right? It's like this message that's constant. I keep looking at it and it's penetrating. And I think it's doing what you
You
want it to
uncomfortable?
do. No,
Are
it's
you, are you
great.
sweating a bit?
No, it's just like it's like a tractor beam. And I think it's doing what maybe you want it to do, which is get people to really feel it, to feel
It's
that.
clean. Yeah. I
It's
think
clean.
that Yeah. I like design. I like aesthetics, and I like things that are very simple and to the point. Why make
Yeah.
it fussier than it needs to be? It doesn't need to be fussy. It
Yeah.
is actual. There's a period at the end of that title. So it's like, you are beautiful, period. It's not up for debate.
There's no
And this
caveats
book
to
is
it.
going to show you how you are
Yeah.
beautiful, because it already exists within you. You don't need this book to know it. But if you're having trouble remembering, this book will point you in the right direction.
How do you think you're beautiful?
How do I think that I am beautiful?
Hmm?
Oh, how much time we got? No, just kidding. I personally, I love that I love my kindness. It seems startling to people when they first meet me. They don't really understand if I'm real or not, or just BSing
Mm.
them. But once people know me for years, it's a consistent thing. I'm inclusive. Um, like I said, I like aesthetics, so I like making my space around me beautiful, and I like helping people with that as well. So yeah, I think that my goal is to add beauty to the world. And I think that when anybody is authentic, they do that. That is natural. So I think by being authentic, it makes me beautiful, as well as anyone else that's authentic. It makes them beautiful too.
Why do you think people feel that it may not be real when they meet you?
I think that when somebody that talks about this sort of thing, I got the sense that you also felt it. You're like, is this person just like pushing another product, be like, hey, buy this and it will make you beautiful? I don't know if I give off that vibration or not. But from several friends of mine, they've all been like, I was like a little, wasn't sure about you when we first met. I'm like, oh, well, I'm here. So
I'm not even sure if I
I don't
thought
know.
that. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, no, not really. I've definitely had that thought about a few people who've come on here for sure. I would not say you're one
Okay.
of them, but I
Oh,
wonder
good.
why several people have thought that. Like, have you evaluated that?
Yeah, I wonder if it's, something in my vibration,
Hmm.
but yeah. At the end of the day, what we ever come across is our own perception. So everything that we see, everything that we do, it's filtered through our brains, through
Yeah.
a filter of judgment and expectation. That's a people thing. That's not a mean thing. That's not a
Yeah.
judgmental thing. It's just a person thing.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, whatever we say, it really doesn't matter. Whatever way we come across, it doesn't actually matter, because all it is the other person's judgments coming through, and whether they're willing to overcome them or not is all that matters. And it matters what our intention was when we interacted with a person. If it was to be extend kindness or allow them a platform to speak, thank you so much.
Of course.
As long as the intention is pure, then everything else is out of your hands. You can't control how people see you, or
Yeah.
how they interact with you, but you can control how you are, and where your heart is at any given time.
I think one of the things like let's go into the like dating world, as I talked to several people about like dating apps and stuff, and I think people are so used to people presenting like a projection of themselves to of attraction, and so they don't often know if like that projection is actually the person they're going to be getting down the line. Or are they playing a character? I think people are so used to people presenting a character, they're not sure if that's actually the person. Like some people thoughtfully create characters, good or bad. They like, I think they probably would like this about me. And then they try to become
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think people struggle with that sometimes, especially in dating. I think people struggle with that because they're just not sure. And then there's people like, I totally get the vibration thing. I've known so many people who are like, when I meet them, I'm like, there is something going on here. Like they didn't even say anything. Like there's just something there, it makes me want to be around them without them saying
Mm-hmm.
anything. And then there's people who like I meet and I know it immediately. I don't want to spend any more time with them. You ever get
Run
that?
away.
You ever get
Yes.
that? The people.
Oh, yes, 100%. But I do think that I mean, when we're talking about that vibration, some people you just click with, and other people make you want to run in the opposite direction. I think it really has to do with where we are vibrationally. And, it's like misery loves company. If you're a miserable person, you usually like other people that are miserable. People that are on your similar vibrational level, like speaking of vibrations, like the high fast vibrations, this is a law of attraction terms here. High fast vibrations feel like happiness, love, yeah, joy, excitement, that sort of thing. Slow vibrations usually feel like fear, insecurities, powerlessness, despair, that sort of thing. So when you're feeling on a certain level on those different vibrational frequencies, you attract other people that are similar. And those people you click with. Now, whether you feel hopeless and you attract other people that feel hopeless because you're just like, yeah, that person gets it. Or you're feeling joy and happiness and you meet other people that are on your same level, joy and happiness. And you're like, yeah, we just clicked. It doesn't matter so much about the other person. It matters where we're vibrating and there's people that are also on a similar vibration.
Do you think people are consciously aware, like they think about their vibration or how that they make other people feel, like when they meet other people? Like, do you ever think, hey, I'm Maija, here's how you know I probably make people feel this way? Do you ever think people think about it that way ever?
I think that people think about a lot of times, like you were saying in the dating world, they put on that mask to be like,
Yeah.
I need to be liked by you because if I'm liked by you, then it
Yeah.
means that we're gonna date and I won the dating game. So I think that more often than not, as people, we do hope that people like us. We want that validation because going back to the very beginning of our conversation again, having that validation, we were taught that when we were really young, almost before we could talk.
Yeah.
So I think that's natural, but I think it's also wise of us to remember that as long as I'm fulfilling my own purpose, as long as I'm being authentic to myself, loving myself, being kind to myself, then those people are going to naturally be attracted to me, the ones that I want to be attracted to me.
Where do you
But
see
I
this?
don't think that that's commonplace.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's commonplace either. Where do you see this work going for you? I mean, no one knows completely, what they're just, but where would you like it to go for you?
Dr. Darian, oh my goodness. I have been on a journey. Oh, I am I have no idea anymore. I am not 2 years ago, if you asked me this, I'd be like, oh, I know exactly where it's gonna go. And it's gonna go here and then there and then there. And yes. Oh no, it has not turned out anywhere near what I thought it was going to be. Of course, per usual, right? So no, I don't know where this is gonna go. 2 years ago, I was pitching an app idea across the state of Florida to all sorts of investors to try to get this app going. And I had these dreams of grandeur and corporation and it did not pan out for me. I met some really great people. I had lots of good conversations. But yeah, at the end of the day, no one was giving me $100,000 to start this lovely little business. So I'm like, all right, well, drawing board. I'm just going to kind of get still and figure this out. And then a book came to me. And the book, I was terrified releasing this book. Just that kind of vulnerability is so that fear of what people think about you, that criticism is so gnawing. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But working through the fear, I released this lovely little book, You Are Beautiful. And it gained traction almost immediately. I was amazed by it. So people started publishing or writing about it in different publishing circuits, newspapers, magazines. So it's like, oh, okay, this print media seems to be working for me. And when we were talking about value and money, people spending money, I wanted to create a free app. I want it to be like a Duolingo kind of thing. So
Sure.
like a premium level, but basically it'll take the ads out, but everybody should have access to this information. Everyone. So when the book format came out, which is tangible, you hold it and it costs money to make, and people wanted it, people paid money for it, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a much less expensive avenue and I don't need an investor for this. So I've been taking off with the book. And in 2 weeks, I'm releasing my second book called You Are a Masterpiece. I keep referencing art because it ties in self appreciation along with the backdrop of masterpieces like the Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh and the Mona Lisa. So different works of art.
Wonderful.
So where it's going, that's where I know. In 2 weeks, I know where it's going, and that's about
All
it.
right. Well, I know that this has been pretty good. It's been pretty good. I really enjoyed the back and forth and the discussion. It's been really nice meeting you, Maija. Seriously.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Darian.
Of course. And I know you talked about what, the book and stuff. Please let everyone know how they can get it, how they can connect with you and the whole deal.
Thank you so much. Yeah, follow me on any of your favorite social media sites. It's at appreciate the letter U official. At appreciate the letter U official. On any Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever's your favorite. And then I will be giving you all of the details when I have it released.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Maija. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Such a pleasure. Have a great day.